Life is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift back to God. Well, in a world where challenges are plentiful, it's easy for us to feel discouraged. Yet with enough guidance and support, most people can achieve more in life than they ever dreamed possible. Well, beyond your fears is everything you ever dreamed of. For the Dr. STEM Show will give the voiceless a voice and the hopeless hope. And now, here she is, Dr. STEM.
Hello and welcome to the Dr. STEM Show. Before we begin, let me tell you about the Empowerment Academy membership program that I just finished creating. This is an answer to all of you that have been asking, how do I deal with the stress, the anxiety, the depression, and most of all, how do I move on? I have created programs that have videos, audios, and ebooks that you can access 24/7 with a membership fee of only $27 a month. Join the program at www.drstemi.com. Let's begin the show. Hello and welcome to another segment of the Dr. STEM Show. Before this show, I was just talking to my guest who you will enjoy talking to today because she's from my home country and she's actually home in Zimbabwe. But we were talking about how everything happens in its own appointed time. We have been trying to bring this to you for weeks now. Every time that we try it, either her internet acts up or I am sick over here and I can't get up. And then today, everything just worked out and it all works out for his own good. So I want to welcome my guest, my sister, Miss Gamuchirai, Semukele, Lindsay, Mandebvu to the show. Welcome, sister.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. STEM. Oh, system.
It doesn't.
We didn't agree on the name.
Whatever comes to heart, that's okay. But I'm just excited, to bring you. Who would have known that we could actually do this and interview people right back home in Zimbabwe and it goes this, smoothly. So,
yeah.
That's another blessing that we always have to be grateful for. So I'm very excited to have you today.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before we start, here's what I want to do. I'm going to give you a chance to just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and, your heart, what brings you here today.
Okay. Well, thank you, sis. As said, I'm Gamuchirai Mandebvu, and my story is a journey. It's really a journey of God's grace, of amazing love, of a divine appointment. I think where I wanted to be and where I am are worlds apart. The realization that only God leads us for a purpose. And my mom would be so amazed and so humbled and joyful because my focus was all about finance. My focus was all about getting there and having the success. And then my life journey totally changed because of a specific event, and my faith grew through that event. So I moved from finance to social service to working with community. It's amazing. One day you're working at the Reserve Bank, next day you're internationally seeking success, and then out of the blue, because of God's appointed time, He makes you realize that what is most important is human relationships, and you learn from your experience and you impart that knowledge now to others, and you see that the greatest blessing is seeing other people develop, other people succeed. And through my experience, I was prompted to start my own company, a consultancy firm working with diversity issue, dealing with management issue and administration, using my skills base in administration, and equipping others to see value beyond finance, value of the human resource, and how when you use it in a intelligent and emotionally intelligent way, it builds us up to become true success by not looking at human resources as collateral damage, that I can get rid of people, I can replace them like I replace machines, but seeing that innovation, commitment, loyalty are values that totally change the world and can build companies and destroy companies, and build nations and destroy nations. Because without commitment, without relationships, without interaction, without that intimacy, and without caring about the next person, because it's really so important to care about the next person, about their journey, and then helping them up as you will be helped up through your own journey.
Whoa, 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 whoa. This is going to just change the whole trajectory of our interview, because as you're talking, right, I'm writing all these questions, and it's like, oh my God, maybe we can talk about this, maybe we can touch about this. But that's what I love about this show, because then nothing is concrete, just like life. You can plan where you want to go, you can plan what it is that you want to do, but how you get there, that journey is not always the way that you see it. There are always turns and, tribulations that you might think, this is getting me out of the way, but it's getting you exactly where you want to go. So with that said, I want to hear the story of what happened to you and what changed your life. Are you open to sharing that?
Yes, absolutely. Like you mentioned, I wrote a book about that journey that brought me thus far through God's grace. During 2008, Zimbabwe had a massive hyperinflation. It was really scary. And if you were working at that time locally, all you wanted to do was say, you know what, I want to move to where I've got stability. At least that's what my reaction was, that I couldn't handle this. I wanted to move out. And because I was so focused on moving out and running, and my mother had also passed away that particular year, everything kind of like became this explosion that just, my focus was like, I need to get something new, get stability, get a move on. And when I was running, I ran into God's arms, but I also ran into disaster. I got hold of a company, which is a multinational company, but it's a military industrial complex company that deals with Western governments and gets its contracts from Western governments. So initially I was taken to Dubai, where I did my medicals, and it seemed all hairy-fairy. Everything seemed to be okay at that particular point. And I was put into a hotel, and we did my medicals. And the only moment I kind of like had questions while in Dubai was when I realized that nobody's coming to see me. And then the next thing, the people from the hotel said, well, your passport is back from the company. You are now supposed to go to Afghanistan, because that was the open door that I saw and I was rushing into. And I got my passport. Amazingly, I was on a visitor's visa. And I'm like, hey, why am I on a visitor's visa? I mean, these are questions. I had grown up in Germany with my parents, so I knew the complexities of visas, and I was aware of that. You don't play around with your passport, and you don't play around with legality of your stay. But because of my rush to leave, I said, okay, well, fine. When they say, no, the company did it, like, okay, let me go with them. It doesn't matter. I'll see it when I get there. Already a red flag. Logic should have said, you know what, get out, rush, get out. But I didn't. And I walked into the company, and there were a number of different nationalities, but it was quite a bit of a tier. You've got the Africans who had come late into the company, most of them at the bottom tier, regardless of their qualification, and some of them were exceptionally qualified. Then you had Asians in the middle tier, in a mix of some European and Eastern European mainly. And then you had top management, which was mainly white. and you're appearing or Western ex-military. Being of Zimbabwe and being brought up in a family that was vocal and at times quite politically vocal, I didn't appreciate any moment of being abused or being taken advantage. So I would express my views and express my opinions. And you know how you reflect on your parents at times afterwards, that when your mom said, keep your mouth shut, keep quiet, I did not keep quiet at times when I should have or could have kept quiet, and it created its own dynamics because I became a vocal point of contention. While I was initially in Kandahar, it was okay because the company was under the auspice of the military more. So it was quite answerable to someone. And it was only truly dramatic when I was moved to Kabul, and this was following conflict with a young man who was homosexual and who felt that I should accept him as a sister. And I said, well, you know, I accept you as you are, but I don't accept you as in my faith and in my faith structure. I cannot accept you as a sister. And that created its own drama. But I thought, well, you know, let's just move on. We can live with this. And it seemed like a promotion, the move to Kabul, because I was now moved from service to admin and finance. So I was like, well, you know, move on, get on with it. And you realize that a lot of things build up. They don't kind of like just happen. They seem to just happen at that moment. But when you're going through the journey, it's actually building up to its own reality. And when I got to Kabul, I got into my own complex relationships because of my strict nature and my vocality. I would speak to people and tell them, you know, you have to meet the deadline, you have to do this, because I'm not going to be disadvantaged in my work because of you. And that had its own complexity. Yeah, it was quite it was quite amusing in its own way. And having gone through all of those different events, finally I confronted management because of those relationships that would be confrontational in my life. And when management refused to do anything about it, I then did what I thought was my legal right, was to tell them, you know what, I'll report you above. But in Kabul, they are like a little, the company became a little empire because it had its own military, it had its own security. So you were a guest or a worker and you were safe as long as it was convenient to them, but you could also become a prisoner. And Lord, I never expected this. I became a prisoner in Afghanistan, having no military background whatsoever. And yeah, it was something else because they were then seeking to eliminate me rather than negotiate with me. They sought to, I think, bully me at that time, but the bullying became physical. The bullying became placing me in isolation. The bullying became me being put at one point into the sun. It was 40 degrees and it was terribly, terribly hot. I had stopped eating because I was terrified that they could be poisoning me or they could be giving me drugs. And yeah, it was quite a journey. The journey that brought me closer to God, because when you reach a point, there's a point when you reach where you realize that I can die here and I can be gone, and I don't have control, I don't have power, I don't have dominion in this situation, and only God can take me through. Only his faith in him and assurance in him can take me through this journey, so that I can then get out and then speak out. I realized one point where I felt almost certain I was going to be raped. At that particular moment in time, I thought I was going to be raped. This was it. This was the total despair moment. But God kept me safe. And I realized that even if I had been raped, God was still good. God still cared for me. God still gave me life. God still protected me. And I'm a testimony. I came back, was healed from the trauma, was healed from the experience, reflected on the experience. At one point, I actually jumped out of the window on the first floor of the building, trying to seek help and trying to make people aware of what had happened to me. And I also realized that people around you tend to fear, because the people I did meet, some of them Zimbabwean, some of them from Kenya, some from other countries, were not willing to come forth and help even in that state. And I realized that they were afraid. They were afraid for their lives, for their careers, for their families. And I continued my journey through it all. But it was amazing.
Yeah, so sorry to cut you off with that one, right? I wanted to ask, what's the name and title of the book? Because I know the book is, because I know we only have a short time, but this story just goes deeper. And I think, our audience might want to read the whole story and really get an understanding. What's the name of the book?
Crawling Out of the Darkness. That's the title I gave it, Crawling Out of the Darkness. Because, yeah. Mm.
And then you know what? Here's the thing, right? Right now, and thank you for sharing that story. Right now, with COVID-19, every one of us feel like we are in that darkness. We are in that place where we don't know what to do, where to go next. So it's almost like everyone is scrambling and trying to find, how to get out of this darkness of COVID-19. And I know one of the things that you do is you mentor people in order for them to get out of the darkness, whether it's organizations and individuals. Do you have maybe one or two things that you can say to the people? This is what I would encourage you to do to take the step towards getting out of the darkness?
Yes. One of the key steps is identifying that you have experienced, all of us have experienced a certain level of that darkness, that moment of dispossession, that moment where we seem lost. Sometimes an organization can become lost in its own vision. Sometimes as individuals, people come and they are lost in the whirlwind of life, and they really are looking for hope. And the truth of the matter is that even having gone through that darkness, the first thing you need is to forgive yourself for having gone through that journey. You need to forgive those around you, because forgiving them is absolutely key to inner healing. I remember reflecting with one person about, even as a corporate leader, your darkness can impact your company, your department, because if you haven't dealt with your personal trauma, your personal challenges, emotional and even mental challenges, you will find that it will impact those around you. It will impact how you relate to them. You may become detached because of your emotional trauma. You may become aggressive because of your emotional trauma. You may feel that people are lazy, or people are not taking the effort, or people are not hardworking because of your expectation of experiencing trauma, because you have been maybe as a child, you were traumatized and you worked yourself out of it. You expect everybody to work out of things, and you don't expect anybody to ask for sympathy. But we are different. And without your healing and then acknowledging the need for forgiveness, you will not find it easy to even forgive your boss or your subordinates or even your co-workers. And it's so important how to deal with your own personal trauma so that you can share healing and life to those, even to clients. You find that some people, their vision is reduced because of their emotional limitations, because they themselves are scared of being successful. They're scared of overcoming what they used to be, or the limitations that were spoken against them. And even when they relate to their customers, they relate with the attitude of a brokenness that needs healing. They relate with the brokenness of even racial relationships. We find that the reality of many of the racial relationships and the challenges of those relationships is based on our experiences and the trauma of those experiences. So if you experienced racism, you may find your attitude towards a client who is of a specific race is biased based because of your experience of in the past. So all of that has to be dealt with and has to be actually confronted first by you, confronting it in yourself, accepting that it is part of you, and then being willing to move forward, accepting, you know what, I need to move beyond this point, because if I don't, I will continue the poison that is limiting my success.
Wow. You know what? This is really good, because then it comes at a time when a lot of people feel lost. And as people go back and transition into the organizations, I really think your message and your trainings would help, because then they need to know how to handle everybody who's coming out of the darkness, because now the whole organization is coming out of the darkness, and they need to know how they can help each individual employee and also help the company as an organization. So I really like that approach. Now, how can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me through my website. It's www.pmconsultancy.co.zw, or on my WhatsApp number, +263 775 058 802.
Awesome. And I will have all those numbers under this show wherever you're going to be watching it. I'll also have the contacts. She's also on LinkedIn. That's how we connected on LinkedIn. So I'll put her LinkedIn address, over there for you. The best thing about what's happening with us today in this world is you can now consult with the best consultancy around the world without having to bring them to your country, to your organization. You can actually have a meeting just like I am having with Ms. Gamuchirai right now in your company when she is in Zimbabwe, and she can do all your consultation via Zoom or any other, websites that you have, or communication via any communication that you're using in your organization. For individuals, I also want to encourage you. You can now get a coach like Ms. Gamuchirai coaching you from Zimbabwe and sharing your story while she shares her story with you, and giving you some tips. Like she just gave us a few tips right now. This is just the tip of her coaching and counseling that she does, but you can contact her as well, below at the contacts that are below. Now, as we part, any words of parting?
Well, thank you, first and foremost. Yes, perseverance and inner healing is a decision. It's a decision that you take on. Having returned to Zimbabwe, experiencing my abuse and experiencing the challenges that followed of trying to get justice, of seeking my network to get justice through political means and legal means, and finding a lot of hurdles, I realized, like I said, forgiving and moving on, and then trusting God to sort other aspects out himself is very, very key. So sometimes we get bogged down by an experience, and we don't allow ourselves to use the experience in the areas that the doors that are opening up, and allowing that experience to build us through those specific doors, because we're seeking an answer, a specific answer, a specific way that we have set our hearts onto. I trust God for justice. I trust God for His way and His will. But I also rejoice that through my journey, I'm able to encourage others. I'm able to build others. I'm able to tell others, you know what? There is hope. You can go through anything and there is hope. God knows you. God cares about you. And your purpose is not limited by any experience. Even if you were abused, raped, tortured, God cares. And in that journey, there is a power that can build and enable a total new beginning.
That is awesome. I always sing this song when I do speaking engagement, this little bit of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Thank you for that. I hope that all of you will remember to let your light shine. I also spoke this last weekend on a topic that I titled, "There are blessings in every storm." And what you've heard from Ms. Gamuchirai is exactly that. There are blessings in every storm, and there are also opportunities in every struggle and challenge that you will go through. Until then, as I always say, be encouraged. This is the stamp.
You just heard from Dr. Stem. She is opening up an opportunity for you to have unlimited access to Empowerment Hub, filled with life success resources to help you deal with stress, communication, confidence issues, career decisions, business success tips, and more. So now, the only question left is, are you ready? Are you ready to tackle that one thing preventing you from achieving your highest potential? To achieve that one goal you've been chasing? To turn your dreams into reality? To finally keep that promise you've been making to yourself? Let Dr. Stem's programs be your guide to feeling more confident and fearless. Are you ready to become a Premier member for only $27 a month? That's less than a coaching session. Get unlimited access to Dr. Stem's empowerment courses, ebooks, free webinars, and more. Become a member today for only $27 a month.